Informative, educational, insightful. You're listening to VoiceAmerica.com.
Welcome to Living Well with Ann Beal. Our show is a health show, a lifestyle show, and an empowerment show rolled into one. Get ready to hear some stories of success, healthy living tips, and suggestions to get motivated and live your best life. Now, here is your host, Ann Beal.
I am here today at the Sage Summit and just having a blast already today. I got here early. I got to see Tony Hawk, William McDonough, and Bree Pettis, and Dolly Singh, who's transforming the high heels, all physics and design and computers. It's been really awesome. And then I ran into yesterday this wonderful woman that just fascinated me. Her name is Geni Whitehouse, and she's been called the comedian CPA, a self-proclaimed nerd, former technology executive and CPA partner. Geni Whitehouse has made it her mission to eliminate boring from the world of presentations. And I found this fascinating because she is a CPA, and CPA are not the most funny, super social people. I was a math major, and I was kind of social, but most of my friends were not. And so I came across Geni, the comedian CPA, and I'm like, how does that happen? Welcome to the show, Geni.
Thank you, Ann. It's great to be here. And thanks for all those kind words about my profession. I mean, I can't believe you think that. We don't, what? Us? No personality? Shocked by that. We're great with tax codes. We got all these great insights to share. And it really became evident to me that no matter how smart you were and how much you knew, if nobody understood what you said, you really weren't having that big an impact. So that's my mission, to try to change that. And it's been a long time. I've been fighting this battle a pretty long time.
Well, so you are one of the speakers here at the summit. And how did that happen, that they found you as a CPA and a comedian CPA?
Well, I started with Deloitte right out of school, and I actually decided in 7th grade, that's really kind of scary, that I wanted to be a CPA. I was a nerd even back then. I was good at math, and I discovered that was going to be the profession that I wanted to be, so I started working towards that. My whole trajectory at that point was to become a CPA and be an accountant. I worked for a long time to be partner in a CPA firm. I finally achieved that goal after 15 years of work, starting with Deloitte and moving into a small firm in Atlanta. The day I made partner, though, Ann, it was a crushing day for me because I looked around and went, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I was doing taxes. I was in an office. And the only part of the job that I really enjoyed was interviewing the clients.
That might send you a message, right?
I was very slow to listen to that message, unfortunately. And it took really getting to the pinnacle of what I thought was my dream for me to sort of stop and go, this is it. I'm walking away. I don't want to do this anymore. And if I do this for the rest of my days, I'm going to die miserable and unhappy, and probably at a young age, because I was really struggling to fit myself into a mold that really didn't fit me. But I didn't know that there was anything else that I could do. I knew that I had an ability I had done a lot of computer consulting, one-on-one helping people with businesses. And I knew that's when I felt like I was really alive, not when I came back into their tax returns in my office.
But you know what you did that I didn't do was I was an engineer. Yeah. And my personality just it didn't fit very well, and so I ended up, I did it for quite a while, but then I ended up changing fields. Went back to school and added on the mental health field and wellness, and so
that's kind of a leap too.
Yeah. So where did I use my engineering and software and computers? In my office, right? Yeah. And so it's amazing what I can do. But as far as a field, what you did instead was, it dawned on me as you were talking, it was what the geniuses on the stage today were talking about when it was the physics and design engineering, William McDonough and Bree Pettis and Dolly Singh, to find where there's a hole, what's missing, and fill it, right?
That's right.
And that becomes your niche. And for you realized you could change the field in some ways, which is what you've been doing.
And I wish I could say I was smart enough to figure that out. Like, a light switch came on and immediately knew this is what I can do. I can take this. I mean, this is 15 years of investment. I mean, took this horrible exam, studied all this boring crap, learned the tax code, all this stuff, and here I am, I'm going to walk away. And I thought at that moment that I was a huge failure. I mean, the feeling of that walking away from this thing. is I've wasted these 15 years and I'm a failure. I can't do this thing. And part of what really made me realize it was when I looked around at everybody else in my firm and the satisfaction they got from that and the joy and the ease with which they did the job, whereas I was struggling. I mean, I was working 12 hours a day to get the work done of other people that they could do in a lot less hours. And I was only being average at the end of the day. It took me 12 hours just to be average. And that's really frustrating and demoralizing for a human being. So thank God I was stupid enough to go, I'm going to walk away. I didn't have a clue what was I going to really do. I luckily had some clients that I knew I could go do some work for. And that helped me sort of have confidence that there's at least one or two things I can do. And the first thing I did was teach. And that was a real miracle, because that's when I got to start really speaking and presenting. And when the first moment I started doing that, I went, this is it. This feels right.
But you also ended up taking stand-up comedy, right?
Well, that was much later. That was when I mean, that was after I started with this teaching thing, really launched the speaking, and realized, this is more along the avenues of what I can do. But I was still teaching technical subjects, so it was still a good fit for the nerd thing that I had going on as well. So I could sort of bridge that gap. But it took me a long time to realize that a speaking gig was really a job. It was like, well, this is not real work. It's not hard and painful, so therefore it can't really be. I can't make a living doing something that I actually enjoy. I mean, I think a lot of us have that sense. It's got to be painful. It's like weight loss. If there's no pain, there's no gain, or you're working out. And it's just not true. We beat ourselves up for so long doing what we think we're supposed to do instead of listening to that little voice inside. And doing that thing. And I actually did a TEDx talk about that little voice versus the other voice. The small, quiet voice for me, I refer to as my basset hound self.
Yeah.
We raised basset hounds as a kid, and I'm from the South, and basset hounds are kind of, nothing but love. That's the true flame that burns inside. And the other voice, I was also raised Catholic, is the voice of a nun. The one with the ruler who slaps you on the wrist if you're not following the rules, and you're going to go to, burn in hell, and you got to go to confession if you do the wrong thing. And that's the voice, that punishing you should voice, is the one that we end up listening to because it's louder.
Well, so that's the one that when you realize this field doesn't fit your personality very well, that said, oh, you're so stupid.
Exactly.
You should,
You
look at 15 years and all you put into it, and what a failure.
You're a huge failure. And I carry that around, and there's still a sense of that.
But failure, what they said even today,
is
failure is, they had such great words. I wish I could
did.
remember. God.
It was very tweetable
It
today.
was.
Very tweetable.
William McDonough, when he speaks,
oh my God.
I was like, I ran into him when I was walking out. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so wonderful." let me affirm you. I get to touch him, and so he did say, he said that failure is just it wasn't he didn't use the word opportunity, but it was education to know what to do next.
It is. It's it's like putting your hand on a hot stove. You learn not to do that again. And that's what failure is. You try these things on the way. You refine what it is that you really want to do by failing along the way. And, again, I think I just thank goodness that I had the stupidity, I think, to not fear that there wasn't something else out there.
Yeah, and you took the education that you had and everything, and they say fail. What did William McDonough, or it was Bree, fail early, fail often.
Yeah.
Because
I wish
then
I
you
failed
learn.
earlier, Ann. I should have failed a little earlier.
Fail it 1 year instead of 15.
That's right.
But that led you to really transform your field as far as adding to it. It's
I hope
making
so.
it. But the fact that you're here, and I thought first I thought, CB, okay, you are at a software, the biggest company in the world, software convention. You're the thought speaker. So you transformed a boring subject of CPA and computers. Technology. It is a huge. Look how big this place is, and everything that you do applies to it.
That's right. And I think that's really the message for anybody out there. You might be in something that you don't enjoy. You might have invested something, but you can take whatever it is from that you can apply it in a different way. So it isn't that you necessarily have to abandon what you have or know or what you're good at, but it's looking for a different angle. And again, I didn't really know that. I had to kind of get there along the way, and it took some major slaps in the face or the head for me to really go, this is where you need to focus. You really need to become good at it. You need to invest in it like you would in anything else. And I had been reading. I've always been a reader, and I've always been trying to self-improve. There aren't enough self-help books, unfortunately, for me to get there. But I'm still trying to get organized, and I can't find the book. But, that's one of those things you can only read so much. At some point, you got to do it. But the investing in the thing that you really want to do and figuring out how to be the best at that, and that's the difference. And that's when I took stand-up finally. When I realized that I could, and I knew I wasn't that funny, but I knew there was a process there somewhere. There was something that I could learn, and it's really the process, understanding what the moving parts are, that helps make a difference. And that training really lifted me from a wannabe speaker to somebody who knew they could. The fact that I could do that gave me the confidence internally.
Yeah, but how many people choose, I think I'll go take and where do you go to take stand-up comedy?
Only the freaks of nature do that kind of thing.
I mean,
this
was
so
cool.
And I figured it out. It came very clear to me at my dad's funeral. I was delivering the eulogy for my dad, who had passed away suddenly. I was standing there doing a comedy eulogy for my dad, and I just talked about all the weird things that my dad had done, and talked about him and told the story of his life from my perspective using comedy. And in the middle of that, and it's really kind of sad that I'm so in the middle of this eulogy,
really
I'm
good,
going,
actually.
I need to take stand-up comedy training. I need to get good at that. This matters. This comedy communication connection is a way to relate to human beings, and I hadn't made that connection. It's valid. It's not just funny for entertainment, it's for connecting to people.
So how's it work? People respond really well.
One of the things that I found out through this funeral experience is the line between comedy and tragedy is a very small line.
Right.
And both allow you to express the emotion, and it's a very similar emotion. And what got us through the funeral as a family was comedy. We had a dinner the day before the funeral where everybody told funny stories about my dad, about all the goofy things that involved him. And it was amazing how that healed for us, and it allowed us to partake of the experience of relishing my dad in his life.
And grieving in a healthy way.
And grieving, and you really get the same emotion out.
Yes.
It's amazing.
talking in a way that you can talk about it when someone passes away, bringing it up, but it's a way to help them speak it so that they so they can heal. But it also, the humor almost, it makes you've heard people laughing and crying at the same time.
It's the same feeling. Yeah. It's the same release.
Yes.
Even though you're not, and we were crying and laughing at the same time in many cases. But it's really that moment that really made it clear for me, because there's pain in the world of not knowing things, and it's not the same sort of pain, but the comedy is the bridge that you can use. And I had found myself using comedy as a way to diffuse the nerd. You're a nerd, you got all this scary technical knowledge you can lord over people. And in dealing with small business people one-on-one, I always use comedy, and I made fun of myself, going, I might be a CPA, but I don't know anything anyway, and this is no big deal, and let me help you understand it. Don't be afraid of these accounting terms. So I had already sort of applied it, but in a very informal way.
So you also are from Napa, California.
I'm not from there, Ann.
You live there. So I was like, how is it that you're
live
from
there, y'all? You can clearly tell I'm not from there. And ask anybody in Napa, no, I don't belong there. I'm not from around here. But, it's part of the journey. And actually, Sage, I was a VP at Sage. Sage is the reason I ended up in California. They actually moved me out there. I was an employee of Sage. And they moved me out to California to do a role at Sage. I was running a product that was based in Pleasanton, California, and also working with CPA. So again, I've always had this sort of connection back to CPA from the other side. But left Sage and had met some people that were doing accounting differently in the Napa Valley, and they approached me and said, you need to come do what you do with us. So a couple days a week, I get to play with wineries in the Napa Valley.
That would make you smile and laugh.
And who would have dreamed? I'm from Greenville, South Carolina originally. The best thing we drank out there was Franzi in a box. It had to be a big box, And you bring that up in Napa Valley, and they just kind of, oh my gosh, what are we dealing with here?
So how do you make CPAs accounting funny?
There's...
Because you teach this session. It's 30 minutes. Is the session 30 minutes?
Yeah, I have 30 minutes, and I have 2 sessions today, actually. It's a perspective. And it's not people... Because I took stand-up comedy, people think I'm doing stand-up all the time. That couldn't be further from the truth. But what you do is look for the angle. You look for something that is a surprise or different, and you communicate a topic in a different way. So that's what I do. So I don't do stand-up routines, and people always ask me to tell a joke. I don't do that.
I walk past. You don't look like you're putting on a show.
Stand-up does not involve jokes. It's about telling stories. It's about finding a way to flip things on their head. And that's what excites me about what I do. So I find an angle. I find a piece of code or a tax law that's ridiculous, and I talk about it as a way to educate people about concepts. So sales tax, for example. One of my first talks that I did was for a company that's actually on the floor today called Avalara, and they have automated sales tax. Does that not sound like the most exciting topic imaginable, Ann?
I think an automated tax of any kind is bad.
Who does not want to talk about sales tax all day? So I had to do a topic for that, and what I did is go through the tax laws in all the states and find these ridiculous rules that you had to honor in order to do sales tax right. And one of them was donuts. In order to determine the taxability of a donut, you had to figure out how close the donut was to a utensil.
What?
This is in the tax code.
I'm not surprised,
In Utah.
actually.
So if you're a sales clerk in a retail grocery store and you sell donuts, you got to go measure the fork distance from fork to donut in order to figure out whether it's taxed at one rate or the other. So I just found all these things. There's a thing about the big ice or the little ice. There's a thing about the size of the marshmallow that determines taxability. So it's that kind of stuff. And for me, in order to be inspired to come up with a presentation, I got to find the funny something. I got to find the weird angle or something I can pick at. And once I do that, my whole presentation comes together. So that's what it is. It's more about finding a crazy angle and then working it.
Well, yeah. So if there are accounting or CPAs out there, how would they find you?
So CPAs find me online. I have a website called evenanerd.com. I speak at all the accounting shows and most of the technology shows.
A nerd can be heard.
Even a nerd can be heard. I wrote a book called How to Make a Boring Subject Interesting. It's available on Amazon, and the subtitle is 52 Ways Even a Nerd Can Be Heard. So they find me. I'm in at most of the shows, and I'm known for making boring stuff interesting. That's my life's work. And the CPAs, my advice would be don't try to... everybody doesn't have to be funny, but what everybody has to do is work from what they have. So what I discovered is nerd was something that held me back as a kid. I mean, I was a smart nerd in calculus class in high school. It didn't lend itself to being, the first person asked out for a party. In fact, I was never asked to any party in high school. I was the nerdy smart girl in the back, who didn't say anything, believe it or not. But I knew that was one of the elements of who I am. I knew that I have this Southern thing going on. I knew all these elements of who I am. Eventually, I figured out these are things that are really part of who I am, and I'm going to use those. So I play off that. Hence the name Even a Nerd. I might be a nerd, but I got something to say, and that's where it came from.
That is wonderful. So, in the TEDx, where was that you were?
The TEDx was at TEDx Napa Valley, the local event in Napa Valley. I was the first speaker in the first year that event was put on in Napa Valley, and that is the most frightening thing I have ever done.
I've heard that people say that. And is that on YouTube? Can people see that?
It is on YouTube. Geni Whitehouse, TEDx Napa Valley, Basset Hound and None. There aren't very many of them with that title, and you'll be able to find that one pretty quickly.
And it's Geni.
It's Geni, Geni, and
G-E-N-I.
Whitehouse, where the president lives.
The White House, yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that you make this convention, a lot more fun for everyone.
Oh, thank you.
And people played off of you, I hear, as you're going on. and they do make it fun here at Sage. I was at a session last night, and they kept applauding on one side of the curtain, and on the other side, whoever was speaking over there, all of a sudden they started yelling, and then our speaker was like, yell louder, yell louder. So we all started yelling. It was hilarious. I thought a bunch of professional people were acting crazy.
Yeah, competitive speaking event. That's a whole new thing.
That's exactly what they would call it. I just thank you so much for taking time and coming over and letting people know such a thing exists and that you can help. Especially, I have friends that are CPAs. And
there is hope.
There's hope. There's hope. But also for them to find comedy and joy in the middle of the detail that they go in.
That's right.
And they have a lot of stress.
They do.
And that helps them with the stress.
Yeah.
So thank you for being on Living Well.
My pleasure.
And if you want to reach me, just email me at ablivingwell@gmail.com or give me a call, 817-501-1638 at Life Solutions Wellness Clinic. Have a good day and live well.
You want the truth? Face the facts. This is VoiceAmerica.com. Depend on it.
Have you had a chance to check out Voice America's online magazine and blog, Press Pass? If you love our hosts and shows, check out articles that give an even deeper perspective. Plus topics about health and fitness, movie reviews, philosophy, business tips and tactics, spirituality, positive thought, current events, and even more about your favorite host. It's just a click away at vapresspass.com. That's vapresspass.com. VA Press Pass by Voice America. All access, all the time.
Is your mind and spirit in sync? Are you open to enhancing your way of thinking and creating ease in decision making? Are you ready to move past your blocks and create real lasting results? Are you ready for a mindset reset? Each week you will learn proven mindset reset practices you can put into use immediately to change your life and start a whole new way of thinking. Start by tuning in to Mindset Reset live with Prudence Gensman every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern on the Voice America Women's Channel.
Tune in to the Voice America Variety channel on the Voice America Talk Radio Network. Voice America Variety broadcasts a diverse array of topics, reaching a global community. Our experts come from all walks of life, and the topics they discuss are everything from current events, arts and entertainment, leadership, parenting, relationships, self-improvement, career advice, and a variety of other topics. Check us out today. You're sure to find something of interest. Voice America Variety. Talk on today's hot topics.
Families today face unique challenges. Marriage, parenting, and family forms have changed a lot in the last century. Family Matters with Dr. Virginia Collin will focus on building and maintaining healthy family relationships. We will discuss marriage, divorce, family mediation, parenting, lifestyles, and mental health. All kinds of family matters. Our show will feature guest experts and your participation too. You can listen to Family Matters live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific on Voice America Variety.
Have you become a member yet? Sign up now to become a member of Voice America. It's always free and easy. Plus, you get to take advantage of some great member benefits. Get unlimited access to millions of hours of on-demand content across all of our channels. Keep track of your favorite episodes, shows, and hosts in your own customizable library. Find out what shows you might be interested in based on your favorites. Plus, you get insider access with our newsletter. Membership gives you more. Sign up at voiceamerica.com and click Register at the top right.
Informative, educational, insightful. You're listening to voiceamerica.com.
This is Ann Beal with Living Well, just coming back at the SAGE Summit. I have Dr. Barbara Young here with me, and she will follow me once I'm done today. We were talking about the session this morning, the keynote speaker, Tony Hawk, and William McDonough and Bree Pettis and Dolly Singh and Matthew Weiner, and who else was there?
Tony, Skateboard King. I don't have his name, but
Tony, Skateboard King. So you say you got to see the whole thing. You didn't have to rush off. What was your favorite thing about this morning? Because you were in there with me.
I think my favorite thing was the exchange and dialogue about change, and more particular from the perspective of making this universe or the world environment, rather than destroying it, but how ways that we can absolutely utilize the resources that we have to make it better. So I was very intrigued with Bill's stories of how he has changed the landscape in India for people.
I know, it was amazing.
And why we can't seem to incorporate that with diversity. And I like the way that he talked about diversity and the things that we need to be aware of in this country and how we can make change. And I think that's the important thing. Also, from Dolly Singh, I heard her talk about, and what resonated with me was excellence. And what to look for, and what she looked for in terms of who would work for her. And the thing that struck me is it's so true that if people aren't excited and feel good about what they can do and what they can offer, why should I be excited about you?
Yeah, she was talking about how to hire somebody.
Right.
That if you don't think you're awesome, why would she think you're awesome?
Right.
And then also, if you are not excited every day to get up and go work with this person, and to think about that when you hire somebody, if you would work for them, then hire them. If you would never work for them, then don't hire them.
Right.
But yeah, I loved so much about, and they all blended so well together.
They very well did. I liked Bree's comments about, again, working with people, friendliness. He talked about friendliness and relationships, making friends. And friends, that's so important. And what he wanted to do was to celebrate that, make friends. And this is talking about businesses when you're working with people to develop friendships and relationships.
And they even took it as far as combining with Bill McDonough, is it city life, the where people live, more friendly, accessible, so people can build relationships together instead of be divided.
Right.
And then, with Bill talking about making water from air, and so they grow plants on the ceiling and they grow plants along the walls, and people may see the air being made to water the plants with. And then you think of a friendliness. It was like, he was talking about doing that in India and doing that. And I'm thinking, why don't we do that here?
Well, I got one statement I could say out of all of that this morning that I heard, is that making the impossible possible.
Yeah, they said unless it goes against the laws of physics, it can be done.
It can be done.
And it's just hard work to figure it out. And I, with my show being Living Well, I felt like, oh my gosh, I got to get these people on. I mean, it was just, didn't you feel good?
I felt very good.
They made us feel
Well, they're nuggets. And the thing that I'm very glad I'm here at the SAGE conference, and that is the takeaways, and to be always open to learning from others. I think so many people get so inculcated with their own ideas, and they don't want to step out of the box and learn new things and be open for new ideas. And as we segue into the second session, because I know we don't have a lot of time, Ann, is that when we talk about creating a fan base, and I kind of said this earlier too, that we're in the age of technology and communication so fast and so rapid, it's changing like this, that to be aware of distinction between criticism and haters. So that's the one line lesson that I think we need to be aware of, to make that distinction of criticism, which may be valid, of your fans, but to hear them, to let them know that you hear them. I think that's so important.
They talk about the importance of everyone everyone has a voice, and when you let them know you've heard them, it just really makes everything okay. And that was very interesting, and I think it built on so much of what we're hearing here about criticism, or when you have fans can point out things that they didn't like.
Right.
But a hater is not a fan.
No.
It's somebody who doesn't like you, and so they try to destroy you, versus making a criticism. So yeah, I really enjoyed that session too. It was just so different when with William and Bree Pettis and Dolly Singh. I don't know if they've even ever met before.
No, they hadn't.
They are very huge in each of their fields.
Right.
There's the 3D.
And I think it was kind of sad, because I think Bill said, I'd like to get to know you better.
You could just see them.
He talked about, one of the things I'd like, if there were three things I could do, I'd like to get to know you better.
Right.
But
and there are three different companies. You saw them building relationships on stage.
Yes.
And that they were talking about the bromance that was happening between Bree and William. And so it was just all so wonderful. And I wanted you to sit with me, because I know we were both in there and just chat, so we could share that with you. And our wonderful experience. Thanks for living well today with me from the SAGE Summit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
You want the truth? Face the facts. This is VoiceAmerica.com. Depend on it.